So it's another freezing cold July day. I think it's official that summer forgot about us here in Newfoundland. And I'm out in the garden again, and I had a request for some of my favorite plants. I'm going to stick to perennials here that are very hardy and can grow in obviously very harsh climates like we have here. We have a cold, damp kind of climate, and there's still quite a few beautiful perennials that will grow in these conditions and a very, very short growing season. So I'm focusing here now on one of my favorites. And I'll put the botanical names here as well and in the description box below. So if you're looking for these plants, you can look them up by botanical name, which is very important because common names could be just about anything. If you're really trying to identify a plant, you need to know the botanical name. Yeah, I will just post that in the description box below. But what we have here is Lady's Mantle. And this is absolutely beautiful. Has gorgeous foliage, which actually looks very nice in damp weather with all the little beautiful raindrops and how they collect on the leaves. And it has these sprays of a lime green to yellow flower, and it will grow pretty much anywhere. It'll be smaller in dry open fields and more dense, and in complete shade like this one here it'll grow larger, and it's a beautiful border plant and very, very easy to grow. Requires pretty much no maintenance at all. I don't really do anything with it aside from trim it back a little bit. So that's Lady's Mantle. Next, and probably my most favorite plant, and they look a little sparse here this year because I just lifted all of them and removed all the goutweed that was in amongst them. But this is the north side of the house. They get absolutely no sun at all, and it's my little bright spot in the north side, and that's these Geums. And when they come back full, they will cover up this ugly concrete here. They get quite nice and full and bushy, and I really love this bright orange, and it's amazing that they will grow in absolutely no sunshine. The whole house shades this area, and they're still beautiful, vibrant, and makes a nice little statement along the north side of the house. And while most people can't stand this plant, it doesn't take over my garden too badly, and that's the variegated goutweed. I love a bit of variegation, adds some nice color and texture. And it has medicinal uses as well, so it's not totally useless in the garden, but it can take over. I think it looks very pretty, especially as a backdrop to my favorite flower, which is this beautiful forget-me-not. And also back here is another beautiful variegated perennial that pretty much needs no care at all. It's not in flower yet, but that's the Variegated Loosestrife. And speaking of loosestrife, we also have this Gooseneck Loosestrife. Again, not in flower yet. We've just had a miserable season, but this has beautiful gooseneck plumes of white flowers, and very little care is needed. I haven't really done anything with this plant. I don't fertilize it, water it, or do anything, and it's beautiful when it comes out in bloom. And the final loosestrife that I have is this just typical yellow loosestrife, and again it's very hardy. It's not in bloom yet, almost, but not in bloom yet. Another great border plant that will grow in pretty much any condition. And daylilies are always wonderful and hardy. I have several varieties of both fancy and typical yellow and orange daylilies. And these guys are growing here in pretty much mostly shade. get a little bit of dapple sun from time to time, so they're not blooming yet. They're going to bloom pretty late. If I put them in the full sun, they will bloom earlier in the year, but you gotta love daylilies. Now this is an absolutely fantastic plant if you want to cover over a wall or just have something hanging down over a bank, and it's absolutely beautiful. It has something all season long, and it's these glossy, beautiful leaves, and then we have these gorgeous white flowers, and then in the fall we'll have some beautiful red-orange berries. And that's this Cotoneaster, and it's extremely easy to grow. You only just need to trim it back when it gets a little too crazy and wild. And it's a great way to cover up a bank, and it grows well in both sun and shade, although you'll get more flowers and berries if you grow it in full sun. And also I grow several different varieties of bush roses. There's just so many to choose from, so I'm not going to bother to recommend any particular one, but there are just a lot of different bush roses. And what I like about roses is not only are they beautiful, but all roses produce a edible hip. So it's always nice to have something that'll produce some food. And these guys are almost ready to bloom. This is a tea rose, a weeping tea rose. And this has tiny, tiny little hips. These are good for tea. And I also have this larger leaf variety rose that produce these just ever so soft baby pink that open up to white roses. And these guys have very large, juicy, edible hips. They're good for fresh eating. But most bush roses are quite hardy for any climate. Look how pretty those little rosebuds. And this has to be one of my favorite shrubs. It works perfectly as a medium to low hedge, and it gives you color all year round. It starts out in this beautiful deep green, changing to sort of a lime green, and then a vibrant yellow to orange, and a really nice red in the fall. As you can see, some of the tips are starting to turn red, so we haven't experienced summer yet, but we're already getting some fall colors. And this is the Goldflame Spirea. Very, very hardy plant, and it self-seeds itself, so you'll find little ones growing up pretty much everywhere. This was one that just set itself here, and I always find little seedlings growing throughout the driveway. And this is an Abbotswood Potentilla. These are extremely hardy, and they come in different colors. I really would like to have a pink or a peach. This is the Abbotswood white. I do have a yellow, I think, out back. But Potentillas come in a variety of different colors. They make a beautiful border plant or a hedge, medium height hedge, and they don't mind the bad weather here. It's in full bloom. Lots of beautiful white blooms on it now. And this hedge that I'm growing here is extremely hardy, and it's easy to shape. It can grow up to 12 feet high. Grows pretty fast as well. And this one they call snowberry hedge. It has our snowberry bush, not snowball, but it has very insignificant little pink flowers. And then you get these big white, spongy little berry pods on it in the fall, and our seed pods that look like berries. And it's quite pretty and easy to manage and very hardy. And this sort of unattractive bush here is beautiful in the spring, so it's nice for a nice burst of spring color. And that's a cutleaf forsythia, and they are really hardy. They're as hardy as a rose. They grow in canes, so you can make them into a hedge or a nice bush, or mine has just kind of gone a little wild here now, so it needs some trimming. But definitely a must-have for some spring color. And who doesn't love these? I absolutely love this rhododendron, and I have two different varieties, but we had some wind and rain yesterday, so its blooms have been pretty short-lived, but it's beautiful and it loves our climate as well as our acidic soils, so it's a great plant to grow in an acidic area, and it has absolutely beautiful big plumes of pink flowers, and the bees love it. And just like roses, there are several varieties of lilac. My lilacs now are into fall mode, and the blooms are dying back. And this is a beautiful purple lilac. And this was a white lilac. I'll show you what they looked like when they were in full bloom and the sun was shining for a few hours one day. So that was really pretty. That was one of our 2 sunny days this year. And these can be grown into a hedge or a bush or left to grow as a tree. So very versatile plant. Lovely fragrance if you want some nice fragrance in your garden. And many varieties of lilacs to choose from. And many of them are quite hardy. And this is a shrub that I love for fall color. It's not overly interesting right now, but it does have some little tiny insignificant blooms. If you look really close, there's these tiny little lime green flowers. And it's just a standard green leaf bush, but in the fall, it provides a beautiful blazing red, crimson and fuchsia kind of red color, and so I like to have some color year round. And this is very hardy. Again, just some minor shaping is all that's needed, and it does like some full sun if you want it to go really red. And that's this burning bush. Here's another really great plant. Again, it can grow in full shade to full sun, and it's very bushy, great border plant to fill in some areas. It self-seeds, but it doesn't get too weedy, which is great. And this is the fernleaf bleeding heart. Another great hardy plant, and there's many varieties of these as well, so you can look for one of color that suits you. They come in all different shapes and flower colors, and that's sedums. Sedums are great for in any rock wall, a nice low growing hardy perennial. And here's a different variety here, and some in here. And the grass is my worst weed. It's taking over this wall. I'm going to have to lift all my plants to fall and plant them back again. But yes, this is sedum. And I have a beautiful one that likes to grow in the cracks here. It's a blue and pink, really pretty sedum. Oh, and there's another one. This doesn't belong to it. There's 2 different varieties of sedum growing in there. That one's a dragon's blood. So yeah, there's all kinds of sedums. If you're looking for a nice border plant for your rock garden, something low growing, and you just look up what different varieties of sedum there are, and I'm sure you'll find one that you love. So this is one of the hardiest plants in the garden again, and that's this scented geranium. I absolutely hate the smell of it. I don't like touching it at all, but I love how it looks, and I love that it loves my garden and it produces these really pretty blooms. It's probably one of my most photographed plants because it's just very unique and interesting. And they pretty much will grow anywhere as well. They do like a little bit of sun, but they don't mind some shade either. They'll grow quite big in full sun. I'll show you one that's on the south side. So this is the one facing the south, and it actually grew right to the ground, and I clipped it all back in the spring, and it's looking really good there now. I love the texture and the colors. It's a good all-season plant because it turns beautiful and red in the fall, and we have nice blooms. And it's a perfect plant for rock gardening or anywhere where you want a very low bush or a cascading plant. It can pretty much conform to most areas of the garden. And these are almost finished for the year. These are a spring flowering plant, and that's the rock cress. It comes in several colors. My white is no longer in bloom at all, and the purple is almost finished blooming here now. And that's a great rock garden plant as well. Great for spring colors. Another beautiful perennial, and there's many different varieties of these as well, that just add a beautiful fragrance to the garden, are these dianthus. And you can just smell the fragrance of cloves all on the air. And there's tall dianthus, there's creeping varieties, cascading varieties, and all different colors. And there are perennial and biennial and annual ones. So for the ones that I have growing here, I will list the botanical names down below, and mine are just perennials, so they will come back every year. I tend to not want to grow annual varieties. I prefer the plant that likes to return year after year. So that was a little overview of some of my favorite plants in the garden that are perennials and very hardy for a cold climate, cold damp climate, short growing season, and acidic soil.